check out this trailer real quick for Axiom Verge, developed by Thomas Happ. We're about to call. The hype is real behind this game. People are really, really looking forward to this. It's coming to the PS4 and PS Vita next year.
The music is amazing.
So it's really good with it. I mean, in general, it's so cool looking.
So let's see if we can find. Here we go. Let's call up Tom and see if he answers. Hopefully everything works out fine. Hey, Thomas. How you doing?
What's going on, man?
Not too much.
You are on the Level Up Show, man. First off, thank you so much for doing this for us, for allowing us to call you and talk about your next big game, Axiom Verge. Can you hear me okay, Tom?
I can hear you. Is there supposed to be video?
Not on our end, unfortunately, because it would crash our stream on our end, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I can, let me see if I can turn it on for you. You're not going to see us well, I don't think, but let me see.
Okay.
You're off to the side here if you can see me.
Yep. I see.
All right. Let me start off. I want to get to know you a bit about your origin story, how you kind of started in this industry. I know you've been in it since 2002, but leading up to that, what brought you into game development, and what were your goals that you set for yourself before making it?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been working in like AAA, so-called development since like 2004 or so. So I've worked at EA, Tiburon, and then at Petroglyph Games for a long time. And Axiom Verge was really just started off as a hobby project for me to do in my spare time, but as I kept on working on it and the years went on, I had some material to release and it got a lot of attention, so I kind of gradually started like ramping it up, like trying to look for publishers and everything, until eventually I ended up getting the Sony Pub Fund. I applied for it and got in, and since then I've been working on it full time.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question later, but since you touched on it, so you kind of went to Sony on this one. They didn't come to you with desire for Axiom Verge, because I know in the very beginning of this generation cycle, they were very forward with the indie space and trying to get people on board.
I think think that's true, and I think I've heard of people like saying they were showing at PAX and Sony guys came by and kind of persuaded them. But in my case, it was definitely, I don't think I was really on the radar until I went into Indiecade has this what do they call it, Indie Exchange, and I went into a meeting there with like Nick Sutner and Brian Silva, and like there was a bunch of Sony people, and I showed off the game there, and I didn't know what to think because like they were like, well, we're just releasing PlayStation 4 right now, so we're not doing the pub funds, but like contact us later. So I was like, oh, okay. So like later on, like months later, I was like working on a new trailer. And I sent it to them, and to make a long story short, that's like when they decided to pick me up. But it was funny because that original meeting, I later found out at like PAX, I think it was Shane told me that they had like unanimously like decided that this is the game they wanted to do like way back in whenever September, whenever it was. Just they couldn't say anything, so I was all like biting my fingernails and stuff, trying to figure out like what I was going to do, but it worked out in the end.
That's really cool. Very cool, man. Now, we were just talking about this. Besides games development, you also have interest in games music composing, and we were listening to the trailer right now, and the music in Axiom Verge is excellent, just magnificent, and I'm kind of wondering if you had a part in that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's my solo thing I do for fun, or was for many years. So, I mean, I just wrote all the music myself. I didn't, have the desire or, financial means to actually hire someone to write music. Right. But, I have a keyboard and I have a computer and soft synths, so I took care of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's unbelievable because
it's so many games fall flat just due to the music alone.
The music was awesome.
And so the music in that really, helps to carry it. It made the trailer much more, really like a thriller almost. You get really like hyped up to play it. So
definitely,
that definitely pulls it a lot.
Do you specifically compose the music for a scene around an area, or do you take a certain idea and then try to fit that into the game, or is it kind of like an ebb and flow between both?
It was kind of both. I mean, I went about it like I designed the concept art and like the tile sets for each of the levels and everything before I wrote any music, and then I tried to write music to go with each part. But I actually didn't end up using the music for the parts that I thought I was going to use them for, just because, some places where I used like slow-paced music, it seemed better to use a fast-paced track. So I switched up a lot of them. I know I ended up using the track I intended to on maybe like half of them, and then the other half I, was just kind of was meant for something else, or was maybe I didn't know what I was going to use it for. And there's one track that I just took from like a previous game that I never finished making, and it needed a home, and that was where it went.
Cool. So, I mean, 16-bit games and classic style games are seeming to be like a fad coming back in a way. But there's always something different that they add to it. So there's a couple things I saw in your game in particular that I think you couldn't do back when 16-bit was big on Genesis and Super Nintendo. So what are some of the things that you were really proud of that you were able to add that you probably wouldn't have been able to do back on those console generations?
So I mean, the main standout difference I'd say about Axiom Verge is probably its glitch mechanic, and that's the kind of meta mechanic where you can glitch the enemies with your glitch gun, and you can glitch certain parts of the environment, and there's various other things like a password or passcode feature, and things of that nature. And a lot of that is, I wouldn't want to say you couldn't do it on a classic system, but I think it would be a lot harder to do it in a way that was within your control and not just something that was going to break your game completely. And I do use a lot of, modern techniques like shading techniques and that kind of thing to achieve the effect of, having the memory corrupted or have, the screen degauss and that kind of thing. That's, it doesn't really fit into 16-bit, but I don't care.
Yeah, going off of the 16-bit, this is clearly something that a lot of solo guys are going with. Maybe it's because it's a little less, it requires less resources, less people on the team, but it's something, you went from AAA development. You said you were a part of Electronic Arts Tiburon and stuff like that. Do you prefer being a solo team as opposed to being a part of a group?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of baggage that comes along with being in a group. So when you're in a group, you can obviously you can have a much bigger scope for your game. You can maybe have your game be three-dimensional, polygon, detailed characters and stuff. The more detailed you get, though, the larger the scope, the more you need to collaborate with others, and that can be good because there's other ideas coming in, but also it can lead to ideas being watered down a bit.
Okay.
And when you get to the scale of EA, it ends up being like very few people come up with the ideas. It might even be marketing people coming up with the ideas, and then the majority of the team is getting the schedule they're handed and kind of implementing it. Which, I mean, I don't want to knock that. Like, just, having a job where you just, like, make, if it's golf, if you're just making golf clubs all day, like, that's actually kind of fun to do. But it's not, I'd say, as fun as if you're the guy deciding what the game's going to be and, what's in it, as long as you keep it manageable for yourself.
Yeah, sure. Back to Axiom Verge real quick. I have one other thing. At the beginning of the trailer, there is a quote that it starts with, if you want to call it that. It's the definition for Axiom, and it's any algorithm giving rise to cognitive entities will be perceived by reality by the entities described. And then I kind of looked at your website, thomashapp.com, and I saw that you had this massive blog, this hypothesis on the true nature of reality. And it's something that you clearly are invested in, and I'm wondering if the concept behind the game relates to that hypothesis.
Yeah, it does strongly. Unfortunately, I believe my talents as a programmer are much greater than they are as a scientist or that kind of thing. But I think within the framework of science fiction, provides a very eloquent way of expressing, I guess, what you'd say my beliefs or suspicions are, regarding the nature of cosmology, and so there's a lot of like if Stephen Wolfram esque attributes to the game fiction and like even some of the game mechanics that you come across.
Now I wonder if to you, do you feel like you're actually creating a reality? Like literally, are you? Because as your theory discussed is on your website, the idea is that anything that an algorithm, whatever, is created, they perceive themselves as reality, and therefore you are the creator. And do you feel like, in a way, that you're creating a reality with this game?
No, it's actually kind of, in a way, it works the reverse of what you would think of. Okay. It's more like the reality we perceive because we are created by, the various rules and physical laws that happen to come out of our universe, EMC squared and, that sort of thing. And I would say a closer way of describing it would be to say that if I were to program a game, the Matrix type of thing,
sure,
that would actually be more of a reflection of something that was going to exist, whether you programmed it or not. Those people believe themselves to be real,
oh.
And they're more like waiting to be found by the programmer, and the only difference is that you get to view them through your computer screen, say, or VR goggles, or not, but they're still there. You can't stop that, and that's basically how it happens.
That's a really cool concept. I really like that. To close this off, I wanted to say real quick that I saw Axiom Verge won the Best of E3 award at GameSpot, and for you being a solo team, how does that make you feel to receive an honor like that?
It's absurd. Let me show you something. I show this to everyone. The nice people at GameSpot gave me these buttons for my team. They needed to make sure that the whole team, was covered. So there's about 20 of these buttons that he gave me. I just made this shirt, pretty much covered it all with them.
Captain America shirt.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was very. It was very strange because I wasn't quite sure. I was like, well, maybe they just give this out to everyone. I didn't really know it, and I think it kind of became more clear to me when I was heading back to the hotel and I was in the elevator and there was, just a woman and her friend were in there, and the woman had the same pin, and I'm like, oh, is this like another indie? I'm like, hey, we have the same pin. Like, what did you make? And she was like, oh, Dragon Age.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, how many hundreds of millions possibly, went into this Dragon Age coming to be, and I basically spent nothing, and I still wind up with the same pin. So that was, it's kind of unreal, and in many ways I'm glad it's kind of died down, because it was just sort of, I don't know, very, I don't know, I want to say disassociative kind of feeling. This is not my real life. I wish I could go home and eat some pizza and watch TV and do something normal now.
Well, the game looks awesome, and
the chat is blowing up.
The chat is blowing up. I hope that everybody in the room right now who saw the trailer, who's listening to Thomas Happ right now, the solo developer on this game, it looks forward to Axiom Verge, because it comes out next year, I'm pretty sure, on PS4 and Vita. Is that correct, Tom?
Yeah. Yes.
Is it going to be early? Could you give a quarter?
I'd say Q1 probably.
Oh wow, nice.
Quarter one of next year. I'm so psyched for this game. It looks amazing, and we were just talking earlier that the indie space, if you want to call it that, it's taken over because it really connects with people like us specifically that don't have sometimes the time to go into a 60-hour game, and in a lot of ways I prefer these smaller experiences become so invested in them, and they tell these personal stories and they take risks. And I really appreciate that. So I think this game looks magnificent, and I'm so happy that you called in. Thank you for that.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Hey, anyone who wants to follow me on Twitter,
yes,
I'm at Axiom Verge. Yeah. I like getting followers, watching that number go.
We're going to plug you in the chat right now.
That makes me feel important. Thanks.
We're going to do our best, Tom, to plug your game moving forward until release, and when it comes out, we'll make sure to plug it to hell, because we really appreciate you doing this.
All right, awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Bye.
See you later.
All right, bye-bye.
Have a good night, bud.
He's a cool guy.
Awesome guy. Oh man, it's so cool to talk to these guys, man.
Right.
And Axiom Verge.
And you can see the passion.
Yeah.
It's not only just in the game, but just
I'm just covering your face for a second.
Okay. Yes. It's an O though. Axiom Verge with an O.
Oh no.
Axiom Verge with an O.
I spelled it in the chat.
That's close enough. But people will figure it out. But guys, please make sure you go at Axiom Verge. We're followers of them on Twitter. You can probably find it on our page. He retweeted us earlier when it came to his call.
I retweeted him.
We retweeted him.
That's so meta.
And he's obviously a really cool guy, and he's very passionate about what he does. And it sounds like this is a project that's been near and dear to him for a very long time. And he finally gets to release it as a solo team, if you want to call it that.
Right. And it's all him, music, graphics,
too.
everything. And the one thing, the reason I asked the question I did about, what's different now is if you see in the trailer, I mean, there's some cool things where he glitched through the walls and everything like that. Stuff that you really, not even that they couldn't do back then, that they really couldn't because of the technology, but even that they just didn't have the thought process to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't really think of it.
Because you have to watch it on the TV, not on our TV, on like your monitor, to really see like the glitches. Like the game is constantly doing this like glitch thing, and that's why I was talking to him about reality and how he perceives it and how the game perceives it, because it seems like it's definitely touching on that with the definition of Axiom and obviously his investment in this theory of what reality is. I think it's really cool, and if you guys want to check it out yourselves, it's on thomashapp.com. He has this really long blog on the hypothesis and him trying to prove his theory on reality, and it's a really cool thing.
Axiom, A-X-I-O-M?
Yes.
Yep. It's in the chat, guys.
It's in the chat. I hope you guys appreciated that. That was our second.
It was really cool.
And let me plug this as well. Thank you so much to Mike Emerson, our first caller, developer within the industry, because he's the guy that led us to Tom here.
Right, he introduced us and everything like that. And he was such a really cool guy too. He's definitely, these guys are really passionate. Yeah. That's why I like interviewing them. You can tell that they have a lot invested, both personally and as far as their work and everything like that.
And if you'd like to look into Mike as well, he does his own show. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's hard to write on here. I need one of those little things.
Nice job.
I need a stylus.
What was I just about to say? But Mike Emerson does his own little show talking with a developer that you can check out, but also look for his app on iPad called My Virtual Girlfriend, My Virtual Boyfriend, and even Dark Breakers.
It's pretty cool. It's actually a really good game, especially if you have an iPad or a tablet. It's a very fun experience. It's almost like that Clash of Clans, whatever that game is.